school done.
Welcome back. You are watching News Centre. No business in Parliament for the third straight day. Both houses adjourned after opposition protests as the deadlock continues. Rahul Gandhi raised questions to the government on US President Trump's claims of brokering a ceasefire between India and Pakistan. Gandhi also claimed electoral theft in the country by the ruling party. Yes, we are getting you more news now, and traders and business owners in Karnataka are on the edge over GST notices, with demands running into lakhs of rupees. The Karnataka GST department recently issued show-cause notices to nearly as many as 13,000 small taxpayers, including street vendors and micro businesses, for alleged GST evasion. So what was the trigger? State commercial taxes. Tax officials had found that several businesses using UPI transactions had crossed the GST registration threshold, but neither were they registered nor were they paying taxes. Vendors who have received such notices are in turn alleging a witch hunt, saying they have been punished for going digital. From milk booths to vegetable vendors and tea stalls across Bengaluru, they are switching to cash-only payments due to fear of GST scrutiny. The issue has now spiraled into a political controversy, with the state Congress government blaming the central GST regime.
बेंगलुरु वाला नोटिस दिया मेरे को, आप 4 साल से इतना बिजनेस किया, 1.5 करोड़ रुपए बिजनेस किया, 1.5 करोड़ रुपए को आप 29 लाख रुपीस टैक्स भराने के लिए बोला। मैं इसलिए ऑफिस जाके जीएसटी ऑफिस जाके पूछेगा, वो बोल रहा हूँ आपको सब्जी व्यापार करते हैं, फल का बिजनेस करते हैं, उसका प्रूव करने के लिए बोला। इसलिए मैं दुकान का लाइसेंस और फूड सर्टिफिकेट और सभी क्या क्या है डॉक्यूमेंट पूरा दिया कराया, तो वेरिफिकेशन करके बोला, अभी भी कुछ भी कोई नहीं बोला।
All right, Harish Upadhyay joins us now from Bengaluru. Harish, you have been speaking with the vendors on the ground. Clearly, they are concerned. They want a relaxation in this GST notice. Are we seeing traders, small vendors across Karnataka holding a bandh right now? Are they selling their goods? What is the government saying?
Well, today they had a symbolic protest. Many of these vendors were wearing a black armband to protest against these notices that have been issued. The key concern here, Parikshit, is that several of these vendors are saying that the money that's being shown as turnover is not actually any profit that we are making out of it. In fact, they are saying, for example, a milk vendor from Bengaluru says that he does not make profit from selling milk. He says, I get a commission per liter of milk that I sell, so that can't be calculated as my turnover. For example, there is a vegetable vendor from Haveri who's been issued a demand notice of roughly around 30 lakh rupees. He says that he did specifically go and ask for GST registration when he started his shop in 2021. And he says the department itself told him that he's not required to register and pay GST. So he says suddenly, for 4 years later, if the department turns back and says that I should pay anywhere around 60 lakh rupees as GST, then I will have to shut shop. That's been the crucial concern for several small vendors and traders across Karnataka. Now, just a while ago, Parikshit, the Karnataka government has intervened. The Chief Minister did hold a meeting with the Commercial Taxes Department officers and some of the trade bodies. Now, the consensus or the decision by the government is that they will not go after people who are dealing with exempted goods. Even if notices have been issued, the state government has made it very clear that the Commercial Taxes Department won't go for a recovery. The traders too have now decided to drop the ban that was called for the 25th of this month, and the government has now taken assurance from trade bodies that those who do not come under the exempted goods category but are having a turnover of in excess of 40 lakh, they will compulsorily register for GST. That's the agreement that's been reached after this particular meeting with the Chief Minister of Karnataka.
All right, Harish Upadhyay, thank you very much for joining us. Let's now go across to Subhash Chandra Garg, former Secretary of Finance and Economic Affairs. Mr. Garg, thank you very much for joining us. Clearly, vendors in Karnataka are a worried lot, and I'm sure that these must be concerns among small traders across the country as well. The argument that they're making, that they always believed that fruits and vegetables were not covered under GST. They were not aware that they are being tracked. Do you think this argument is good enough? Do you think there should be some relaxation in this case as the first warning perhaps, or should the letter of the law be implemented because the law is clear and the taxman is acting as per law?
See, the taxman might be acting as per the literal word of the law, but the devil is in the detail about the actual implementation of the law. So, for example, in this case, if you take it that if they're dealing with exempted goods, then the turnover doesn't really count as taxable. Secondly, what exactly is their turnover? Many times a same thing can be repeatedly sold or bought. So, and the further problem is that you may have up to 40 lakh plus kind of turnover, but then you have other options like a composition scheme for turnover up to 1.5 crore. The key thing is that the right kind of turnover of the dealer need to be computed, and what is the GST applicable thereon, composition or without composition, need to be worked out. Now, the tax officials, if they only aggregate the UPI or other kind of digital turnover and slap a notice, that's not fair. It's also the duty of the department to correctly work out that, yes, in this case, how much is the turnover? How much is actually belonging to the exempted kind of goods, and what is the other turnover which is subject to tax, and at what rate is it subject to tax? Offer the option of composition there. That detailed working if the tax department does, and then goes to the vendor with a notice. That notice is a right kind of notice, and it should be done. I don't think anyone should throw the baby with the bathwater, saying that no, all of them should be exempted or the vendor should not be assessed. So that is not the kind of right solution. The right solution, to my mind, is to correctly assess it.
Okay, correctly assess them. Now, this could be a nationwide issue. The Karnataka Chief Minister has said and assured traders that he will take up this issue in the next GST Council meeting. In order to avoid certain similar situation in other parts of the country, what should the government be doing now? On one hand, in Karnataka, GST authorities are running a campaign, know your GST, know your liabilities, know your responsibilities under the tax law if you are a trader, if you are a businessman. Does this need to be done on a pan-India basis with small traders?
Yes.
Those who are unregistered?
And the government should come up with is a kind of friendly intermediary system which can help record the turnover of all these small vendors, work out in a simpler way what their tax liabilities, etc. are. You have now on the credit side, a lot of entrepreneurial people who provide services for availing for making these the small vendors avail or the MSMEs avail the loans from them. That accounting is being done. Similar kind of accounting helping services for tax assessment and liabilities need to be done. So the government, instead of treating them as a kind of tax evader or somebody who is trying to deliberately escape the tax, should come up with the mechanisms to help them. And it's an all India issue. Everywhere, this is the kind of thing. In fact, this, to my mind,
Right.
provides an opportunity that very large segment of Indian businesses, we have, as per a rough estimate, about 8 crore MSME, so to say, whereas the GST system records about 1.5 crore. So there is a vast amount of small traders, vendors, and service providers who need to be brought in within the tax net, but in a way which they can understand and easily comply with.
You know, what we're also noticing, and one of the reasons why this campaign, Know Your GST, has been started in Karnataka is because there's been a noticeable drop in UPI transactions. What traders are ending up doing when they're noticing that they're getting tax demands from GST authorities, they are stopping UPI payments. Will this make evasion, tax evasion, difficult to track?
Of course, if there is a cash transaction, if there is no digital footprint of the transactions left, the tax department's ability to sort of aggregate the transactions and the turnover becomes still weak. But that's a very dysfunctional response to a very legitimate progressive taxation system. You may go to the tax or the cash economy. You may even go for non-generation like the other registered dealers do sometimes, of not issuing invoices, etc., to avoid the taxes, or making transactions in the cash or other forms. All of those are symptoms of a situation in the businesses where people feel that they can't pay taxes and they should avoid the tax. That becomes part of their profit system, so to say.
Right.
A very mild or fair GST system, a mild and fair income tax system collected through a mechanism which these illiterate, semi-literate people can actually comply with is the need of the answer. India has a very special problems, but those special problems demand special solutions.
Okay, now keeping in mind the views of traders, what can be done at this stage? What are the options available to Karnataka government, GST authorities in the state? There is also a political war brewing with the BJP attacking the Congress, saying that, you know, these small traders are the backbone of the economy. You're making unreasonable tax demands on them. This should not be a political issue. But realistically, what are the options available before the state government right now?
I think the opposition there, BJP, which is a ruling party in most of the states, shouldn't be fishing in such troubled waters. If the small traders have turnover which is taxable of 40 lakhs if it is goods, 20 lakhs if it is service, it should be in the tax net. Whether it is in the BJP state or outside is immaterial. And therefore, the right solution is not to say that or to hit at any government which is trying to sort of bring the legitimately taxable people within the tax net by raising kind of political agitations or otherwise. The right solution for everyone, including the Karnataka government, is to, as I said a little while earlier, is to look at everybody's turnover which they have calculated through digital footprints. Look at very careful. They should appoint some internal organizations taking help of the outsiders if necessary to go into very carefully into the entire turnover, that what part of it is actually amounting it to a taxable turnover, and what is the tax implications for that. In fact, the government
Right.
would be doing a big service if it does for everyone a very systematic but
Yeah.
empathic kind of assessment for all of them, and assess and
Right.
help them.
Mr. Garg, it's quite simple. Whenever the tax is collected from the consumer, the trader collects it and gives it to the government. It is not like the trader himself has to pay GST on the goods that he's selling, or the tax on the goods that he's selling. Having said that, there are 13,000 show-cause notices which have been sent. Will it be easy for the government to recover these dues from these small traders?
See, that's the other complication. Most of these traders sell at a composite price, which implicitly is understood to include the tax element. They don't bill the consumers or the buyers with the tax separately, and therefore, in these cases, the trader has no recourse to go to the buyers. It's also, from business point of view, impossible for him to collect or bill it to the consumers now. Therefore, whatever is a legitimate tax has to be borne by the trader himself. And therefore, again, the solution would be that if you work it out for the past, let us say, one of the notices says it's for 4 years. So for the past, if you worked out after doing that careful analysis that actually this much tax is due, you should take a decision that for the past liabilities, should you exempt it? Should you grant a waiver? Should you treat as part of the education cost and make the trader sort of responsible for collecting or pricing his products correctly, and then depositing in the government?
All right. Mr. Garg, thank you very much for joining us on the program. That's all we have time for on this segment. Small vendors under GST lens. What's the government going to do about that? Mr. Garg saying that we should take a larger view, a more practical view, and educate the small traders rather than implementing the law on a broad brush basis. We're taking a break, but coming up on the other side, the Supreme Court agrees to hear pleas by Justice Yashwant Verma in the cash at home case. CGI recuses from hearing. More details on the case on the other side.